Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is me Sehrish Khalid with another lecture of databases, and today we are going to discuss about the keys in database. So what basically the term key refers to in the database? Key is an attribute or set of attributes that identifies a tuple in a relationship. It is basically those attributes, those fields which are basically used to identify a whole tuple, a whole row in a relationship or in a table. So the key field can never be empty, and every value of the key should be unique. It means that throughout the whole column of the table, which is basically referring as a key, the fields should not be empty. There should not be any empty element in that whole column, and every value in the key should be unique. Means two rows cannot have the same key values in it. So let us move towards the definition of keys according to your book. A key is basically a single or combination of one or more fields, and its purpose is to point or retrieve the data row from the table. Basically, if we are referring to this table patient, what is key in this patient table? This patient number, because it is the field which is used to uniquely identify the whole table. For example, if I want to just retrieve the data of any patient, so I can just retrieve the data by its patient number. For example, if I say the patient number 193, so 193 is basically uniquely identifying the patient Farooq, who has this phone number and this location and this status. So it is basically used to uniquely identify the whole tuple in a relationship, the whole row in a relationship. Key is defined in the relationship or table to access or sequence the stored data fast and smooth. So basically it is also used to access the data very fast. If for example you have to retrieve any patient, you can simply through his patient number you can retrieve that patient. Also you can also sequence the patients according to their numbers, according to their patient number. Either alphabetically or numerically, it depends. So this basically helps in the process of retrieval. It helps to just reduce the time of retrieval. It makes the process of retrieval very fast and very smooth, and it also helps to create the link between different tables. Now how it creates the link between the different tables, we are going to discuss it in further, so just stay tuned. Similarly, they have given us about this one more example, physician. With the physician code, and physicians are basically, they are identified, they all have a specific code. Now you all should note over here that this patient number, in this patient number, all the fields are basically different. All the elements of this whole patient number is different, they are not repeating, and also there is no null value in it. There should be something in that key, it can never be null. Also, similar is the case with this physician. Now let us discuss about the different types of keys. So yes, what are the types of keys in databases? Basically, in your there are various types of keys in databases. In your book, there are basically mentioned some types of database. So we are just going to discuss those. First is the primary key. Next we have secondary key, then we have candidate key, then we have composite key or concatenate key, then we have sort key or control key, and then we have a foreign key. Now one by one I'm just going to discuss about all these keys, about the definition of these keys and with the examples of it. Okay, so let us move towards your book. So primary key is basically the relation, in a relation the attribute or the column or the combination of attributes. So this symbolizes that it is not important that there will be only one attribute that can be served, that is basically serving as a purpose of the key. There can be more than one attributes. So basically the attribute or the combination of attributes which are basically used to uniquely identify the row or a record. For example, they are saying that the patient number is the attribute that uniquely identifies each patient, and thus it can be used as a primary key in the above table. Like for example, this is the patient, so here patient number is that attribute which can serve as a purpose for the primary key because it is basically unique and there is no null value in it. The main thing of the key should be that it should be unique and there should be no null values in it. It is very important for the field to be a key. So they are telling us that on the other hand, this patient number cannot be the primary key. Why? Because two patients can have the same name. Like for example, if we have Abid, so there can be another patient whose name is Abid. But if we are specifying a patient number, so if one patient number has number 191, another patient cannot have the number 191. For example, if you are a citizen of a country, so you have an ID card and you have a specific number on your ID card, and that number is basically unique for you. No two people can have the same CNIC number. So similar is the case with this. Next, we will talk about the secondary key. Secondary key is basically that non-unique field that is used as a secondary or alternate key. We can also say it as alternate key or secondary key. Both is fine with it. Both are fine with the terms. So basically, an attribute or set of attribute that is basically the basis for the, it can be the basis for the retrieval, and it is also possible that it is non-unique. For example, if we have physician's code here, physician's code, it is non-unique. Two fields are having that code, but it is non-unique, so we say that it is a secondary key. It is not a primary key. So what the thing is basically that one secondary key value, it can refer to many records. In short, I must say. For example, if we say physician's code and I'm just retrieving, okay, I just want those patients whose physician code is this. So I will type the physician code and we will just, what will be the answer for that? For example, if the physician code is 1000, then Abid, and here we have Zahid and we have Naeem. So basically here physician's code is basically serving as a purpose of a secondary key because it is used to identify the whole record, but on the similar hand it is also non-unique. So it is a secondary key or alternate key. Okay, next we have the candidate key. Candidate key, yeah, it is also known as alternate key or candidate key. Candidate key basically all those in a relationship, basically all those attributes or set of attributes that can be used as a primary key, they are called as the candidate key. For example, if we are basically talking about any student's table, for example, that would be very much easy for you to judge. If we have different attributes in it, like registration number, roll number, name, class. So the attributes, which is registration number and roll number. For example, if the student has two things, registration number as well, and he has a roll number as well that is allotted to him afterwards. So both of them are unique fields and both of them do not have any null values. So both of them can be referred as a key. So we say that they are candidate keys because they can serve their purpose as a key. So a relation can have many candidate keys. Okay. So why basically we are saying it as an alternate key? It is because these are basically those keys which are not selected as the primary key in your relationship, but they do have the property of key in it. For example, if you are not clear about it, for example, if a student has a registration number and a roll number, both of them are unique fields, and you are not clear that which field you should choose for the primary key. So we will, if we are choosing the roll number as a primary key, then registration number would be a candidate key or alternate key because it possessed the qualities of keys, but it was not selected as a primary key. I hope that makes sense. And now we are going to discuss about the composite or concatenate keys. So these keys consist of two or more data elements or attributes. Invariably, these are the same as candidate or alternate keys except that of uniqueness requirement. In order to make it unique, assign a status or another attribute, say patient ID number. Okay. Okay. What does that basically mean means to you? So guys, if we are basically talking about a student's table, so in a student table, for example, if we are just identifying each record with the roll number and the student name, we are having two primary keys at a time in a relationship. Then we will say that it is basically a composite or concatenate key. Concatenate, the word concatenate means combine. It refers when we have basically more than one um, attributes in a relationship which are basically identifying it. So let me zoom it out for you. Okay, so those both will basically referring as a concatenate or combine key. Next we are going to discuss about a sort or control key. A sort or control key is basically those attributes or those set of attributes that are used to basically physically sequence the stored data. Like for example, if you are having uh, registration number for example, and that registration numbers are basically according to, if you sort the students by their registration number in ascending or descending order, so that registration number is basically serving as a purpose to sort all the records according to their registration number. So that registration number is a sort key, or it can be termed as a control key. Okay, now we are going to discuss about a very important type of keys, that is foreign key. You remember in the definition we just discussed about the term, let me show you, we just discussed over here that it is used to, key can also be used to create links between different tables. And how it is used to create different links between the table, now I'm just going to tell you with this foreign key. What is a foreign key? A foreign key is an attribute in a table whose value must match a primary key in another table. The table in which the foreign key is found is the dependent table, and which it refers is called the parent table. Now what does that exactly means? So what is foreign key? Foreign key is basically used to create the relationship between the two tables. Here we have a table named as student table, and then we have a table of course. So what basically foreign key is doing over here? Foreign key is basically that attribute which is basically making a relationship between the two tables. It is the attribute of one table that refers to another table. How? For example, if this is student table, we have student ID, which is the primary key of this table, first name, last name, and course ID. And then this course ID is basically a primary key for another relationship, which is basically a course table. The course ID is serving as a primary key for that new table. And here we are basically writing about the course name. So that table which contains the foreign key is called the child table or dependent table. Like here, here we have this table over here, this one. This one is basically the child or the dependent table, and here we have the parent or independent table, because it is not dependent on this table, but this course ID, this is dependent on this table because we have taken this field from the student table. So this is basically the primary key for another table. So what is foreign key over here? That key, that attribute or set of attribute that is serving as a primary key for another table, that is basically called as the foreign key in a relationship. I hope that makes sense over here. So we can basically access through, basically we can through the course ID we can have access to this table as well. So basically this table is dependent on this table. So this is a child table or dependent table, and this is the parent table or independent table. And that attribute which is serving as a purpose of primary key for another table, That attribute in the parent table is referred to as foreign key. And when we are basically talking about that attribute in the child table, then we say that that attribute is a primary key over here. Now let me give you about a bit revision about all the keys which we have discussed in the uh, previous few minutes. Here, for example, if you have a student table, then that those attributes, a set of attributes that can serve as a purpose of the key, those are basically called as the candidate keys. Why they can serve as a purpose of the key? Because they all are unique, and also they do not have any null value in it. Like for example, student ID, the roll number, and email. It is very unique and it is never empty. So this is called as the candidate keys. And those keys which are selected as the primary key, that would call as primary key. And primary key can always be, should always be a single key. And then we have alternate keys, are basically those candidate keys which are not selected as primary key. So I hope this lecture makes sense to all of you. Thank you so much for your great time. If you have any queries regarding this lecture, you can always ask down in the comment section. Do like this video, subscribe our channel, and do share it with your fellow friends if you understood it. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.